League-wide, they're down to 12 on the COVID-19 list. And
that's
another
good
thing
to hear.
to talk about, Chris, is potential holdouts or guys who are, by all appearances, holding in. Melvin Ingram, the Chargers pass rusher, who is due to make $14 million this year in the final year of his current contract. His teammate Joey Bosa, $27 million a year in new money. Melvin Ingram, who has not been practicing but who is in camp, according to Daniel Popper of The Athletic, is staying out of practice because he's not happy with that deal. And, the other reason to not be happy, you've got $14 million in base salary this year. If there's something that happens at some point and the season falls apart, you lose those game checks based on a $14 million salary. If you can do a long-term deal that gives you a big signing bonus, that reduces your salary this year to the minimum, that limits the amount of financial pain that you would endure if there ultimately is a consequence with games being lost to the pandemic. So, look, the Chargers aren't playing hardball with Melvin Ingram, right? This was all kept very quiet until last night. But the bottom line is they're not paying him either. And I guess we should have seen this coming. Anytime you're talking about taking Joey Bosa to $27 million and the guy who was Joey Bosa before Joey Bosa's at 14, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, you're going to have a problem. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, right? This is like, to me, the old Matt Ryan, Julio Jones conversation we had. Matt Ryan got a new deal. Julio Jones looked at it and went, what? He's not twice as good as me. And that's where we are here again. I mean, Joey Bosa basically making twice as much money as Melvin Ingram. And Melvin Ingram understands the business, but he's also like, whoa, I mean, from where I am as a player, the market has really jumped me. And, yeah, he's being underpaid for the type of player he is now. Now, this is a dicey situation, too, because he is going into year 9 of his career, certainly. So, there is something to say about that. The play is not going to continue to get better. He is just, in that downslope of his career. And he's a guy that is a huge part of their defense, as we've talked about, right, Mike? I mean, this is a Seattle scheme. It's predicated on the ability of the front four and to get to the quarterback so the other 7 can play coverage. And, this is one of the better duos in football. And a lot of the success of their team, hinges on those two guys' ability to get pressure. But I just can't imagine the Chargers at this time diving into a long-term deal, Mike. I guess that's where I am with this. I mean, I heard you say that, and I mean, I agree. But do they throw him a sweetener, something like that? A little bit more money, it's somehow, some way to restructure something to where they can throw him some more money, like you said, maybe up front, some sort of signing bonus, some 1 or 2 year deal, something like that. I mean, that wouldn't shock me if something like that got done here if Melvin Ingram continues to hold his ground.
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't want to lock yourself into a long-term deal that has a couple of years of guaranteed money and then 3 or 4 years after that where the team has you until the team doesn't want you anymore. If you could just get more money in the short term and still preserve your ability to become a free agent in 2021 or 2022 at the latest, then that would be something that would potentially be attractive.
Right.
The core of the problem, though, is there's a huge disparity now between what Bosa is making and what Ingram is making. And Ingram looks at it and says, the disparity is too great. The player may be better than me right now, but he's not twice the player I am. And so you just have to see how it all plays out between Melvin Ingram and the Chargers. But again, he didn't hold out.
Yep.
He showed up.
Yeah.
And here's a reason to not hold out. Under the new CBA, it's a $50,000 per day fine. And if you're on any contract other than your rookie deal, the team cannot waive the fine amounts when you finally show up.
Right.
I don't know how they ultimately enforce that, but it can no longer be waived. The money has to be collected from the player. So that's a disincentive to hold out. But what you see guys do, they call it holding in. The guy shows up and my hamstring hurts. My ankle hurts. You have ways that you can avoid putting yourself in harm's way to avoid a major injury while you await that financial security that you're looking for. And look, I personally, I don't know this per se, but I got a pretty good feeling if Joey Bosa hadn't gotten the contract he wanted before he showed up for camp a couple of weeks ago, he was either going to hold out or he was going to hold in.
Yeah.
And holding in is something that happens in the NFL and it never gets talked about because it comes with this stigma that a guy is faking or embellishing an injury when it's truly a business decision, Chris. Because, look, hey, I don't have any security here. If I suffer a major injury, if this hamstring injury that I feel, if it just goes and my entire hamstring muscle rips apart or it leads to some other problem, as you always say, if you got the hamstring on one side, you're running the risk of something happening on the other side because you're favoring that hamstring. Whatever it is, if you want me to throw myself into this completely and unequivocally and unconditionally, you got to give me the financial security. You got to take the injury risk off of me. So I'm not going to push my legs if there's something wrong with my right leg, because my left leg may end up having a problem too, and I may end up with a season-ending injury, and I may end up never making what I think I should get. So it's not a sign of a lack of toughness, but there's a nuance there that the average fan may not understand. You're protecting your body until you get the financial security that allows you to say, fine, I'll go practice, and if I get injured, I know I'm covered.
Yeah, it's the game within the game here, and really, in a lot of ways, like the coaches and the organization will respect that he's approaching it this way because at least he's there. He's learning. He's hearing things. Yeah, he's not taking part in the physical activity, but also what that'll do too is drive the coaching staff crazy to where they're like, oh, man, they'll start sounding off to the head coach and maybe to the front office. Like, we got to get this guy out here. What are we going to do? Where are we at? Where's that going? So that could actually end up putting pressure on the organization, let alone a lot of these front office people are going to have to walk by Melvin Ingram on a daily basis too and see him and make eye contact with him and realize that, whoa, there's this elephant in this room of this guy wants more money, and here he is. He's at work, and, he's a homegrown guy. Again, the Chargers, they've drafted some superstars here over the last few years, and Melvin Ingram, the stats won't tell how good the player is, in my opinion. That's the one thing I know about Melvin Ingram. I mean, double-digit sacks. No, they're not always the norm with Melvin Ingram, but when you talk about a run-stopping defensive end and doing everything that's, it entails playing defensive end the right way in the NFL, I mean, he's physical. He can set the edge. He can get off blocks. He can be disruptive. He's really an awesome player, and I understand where he's coming from in this because there's some players right now, hey, that you look at, the D Fords of the world. You could say Yannick Ngakwe's. I could say Trey Flowers and look at them, and he's looking at those and going, they haven't done what I've done in this league, and they're not as good as I am right now. He has every bit, the ability to make that type of case, and now it's just going to be interesting to see where this goes. The Chargers got a little wiggle room in the salary cap, but, I don't know where it goes, Mike. I don't know.
Not as much as they had before they gave Joey Bosa all that money, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.